Greetings, film freaks. We are the Podcorn Kernels. Join us as we discuss the hard and often indigestible truths that are at the center of the fluffy and delicious world of cinema.
What's poppin', people? Welcome to the Podcorn Kernels podcast. My name is Adam, and joining me in your earholes is Harry. Say hello, Harry.
Schlanger Schmeg.
On today's episode, we will be talking about Mad Max Fury Road. This is a 2015 film directed by George Miller and stars Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, and Nicholas Hoult. IMDb describes the synopsis as follows. In a post-apocalyptic wasteland, a woman rebels against a tyrannical ruler in search for her homeland with the aid of a group of female prisoners, a psychotic worshipper, and a drifter named Max. Here is an original song to support the synopsis.
I live, I die, I live again. I live again. I live again. Witness me.
Let's start with some facts about the film. Over 80% of the effects seen in the film are practical effects, including stunts, makeup and sets. CGI was used sparingly, mainly to enhance the Namibian landscape, remove stunt rigging, and for Furiosa's left arm, which is a prosthetic limb. I think that's cool.
That's mega.
Considering the film is such a spectacle to look at, how amazing it looks throughout the whole of its runtime. The fact that the large majority of it practical effects blows my mind.
I think that's huge, and especially for films nowadays, for a director to have faith in actually doing it, not getting six guys in behind a computer to just CGI implant everything. I mean, one of the stunt guys said this film doesn't defy physics. Almost everything you're seeing on screen actually happened.
Yeah, and
we actually used guys on polecats, like swinging back and forth. We actually flipped a truck. We actually did all of this.
Yeah, the scale of the film is one of the most impressive things. And knowing that, there's a huge reliance on CGI nowadays. Mm-hmm. The fact that it is all done so meticulously and it looks so impressive with practical effects just adds to the whole enjoyment of the thing for me.
Is that director Bong Joon-ho? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He said this film brought him to tears.
Really?
I think just because of, as a movie-making spectacle,
well, yeah,
you can only be impressed. And Robert Rodriguez apparently said to George Miller, literally said, "How the fuck did you make that film?"
Yeah, I imagine if you know what it takes to make a film and you know how laborious it is to do CGI or leave it to a team to do CGI, and I imagine there's a lot of back and forth between the director and the CGI department. If you know everything that goes into making the pie and you see the final product look this impressive, as someone who makes films, I think you'd be blown back even more than the likes of you and I or the general viewing public that are still amazed by it.
Jealousy.
Yeah.
It would be hard to not feel jealous at what he put on that screen.
And you look at films like Marvel where they're more and more dependent on CGI the more they're shitting out content. It's now certainly, I've noticed watching all the newer Marvel stuff, their CGI is lacking. Mm-hmm. And you can see that, I'm sure it took a lot of time to make the film using all the practical effects and stuff. But when someone as behemoth as Marvel, because they're making so much, you see their CGI suffer. I think they should sort of take a look at films like this and see what you can do using practical effects.
But they're kind of like, not to make too many game references, but they are kind of like FIFA and Call of Duty, aren't they? Yeah. They stick to a product and a copy-paste because it's always going to bring in money.
Yeah.
Regardless. That's why I always respected like what Peter Jackson did on Lord of the Rings, because even though in scenes where he had to use CGI because no one can implant 300,000 orcs or no one can do an 80-foot troll, but where he could be real, he'd get 300 horsemen, loads of female horse riders, and be given beards to make them riders, and they'd do chainmail each chink, they'd make swords, they'd do everything they could to merge with CGI, and that's what he's done here with the trucks and the cars and the lore and the makeup. Excellent.
Yeah, certainly the look of the film is one of the biggest selling points for me, so I love to hear it. Editor Margaret Sixel had roughly 470 hours of footage to edit, Watching it took 3 months.
Oh my Doge.
470 hours to edit down to 2 hours.
Fudge.
Yeah.
Isn't that editor? That's his wife as well, isn't it? It's George Miller's partner.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she'd never edited an action film before, and they asked her, why? What's different about you doing it? She goes, "Oh, if Amanda did it, would just be like every other action film." And do you know what? That's proof in the pudding, because
I'd go.
This
with
does
that,
look and feel and is very different.
Yes, certainly. Yeah.
You might have to look up later whether that is his wife, but I definitely read the editor's girlfriend or something. I'm sure of it.
I reckon it would take the patience of a wife to sit through 470 hours and take 3 months to watch it, then to edit it.
That's dedication.
I think you've got to love the person that's dumping 470 hours of content on
there. You go.
Yeah, go on, make that into 2 hours for us. I think, she'd have to love him to put up with that shit, I reckon.
Wow.
Final fact, George Miller and Charlize Theron didn't get along with Tom Hardy during filming.
Shocker.
They both found him difficult to work with. Hardy would later apologise to Miller at the film's Cannes premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you're not necessarily Hardy's biggest fan.
Love Bronson.
Are you surprised to hear that he was difficult in the filming of this?
No, I think as his career picked up, he got lost in this weird world of sort of quasi-method, and he lets it affect his professionalism.
So do you think it's a case of ego getting in the way?
Well, when you've got 55 lines of dialogue, and not counting the in this film...
Is that factual, 55?
Yeah,
Because I thought I read 15, but anything with numbers, my head jumbles it up.
But line could mean,
Grunt.
It doesn't mean loads of words.
Yeah.
Got about 55 lines of dialogue in the whole film. So in terms of his making everyone not turning up to set on time, Charlize Theron Furiosa sitting in the truck waiting to film for 3 hours and he's not turned up, and she's a new mum.
Is that fact?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh wow.
And she, oh my God, you don't even know. She shouted at him, charged the cunt $100,000 an hour for making this crew wait. She used them words,
Really?
Exact words.
Hundy.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, no wonder the director, and I actually consider Theron to be the star of the film.
Absolutely.
For me,
it's her film.
Max himself doesn't do an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
The story kind of focuses on him, but it's actually Charlize Theron Furiosa who drives the story forward. It's what she does for the wives. It's her journey. It's the wives' journey. Max is just there to, I don't know, it's the known entity. And I wonder if Tom Hardy was difficult because his nose was put out of joint, because he's headline in terms of he's playing the titular role. Mm-hmm. And if he's not doing enough, maybe he threw a sulk, and that was...
I think he needed his hand held a lot. He didn't understand why George Miller wasn't directing him like a conventional director in a drama or a comedy. He wasn't telling him, "Oh, react like this, do this and that." George Miller was focused on the big picture, this huge chase, and he trusted these professional actors to have a little faith in their own selves. But he was annoyed that George Miller wouldn't give him direction in every little bit.
But as you say, Fury Road isn't a character-driven piece, is it? You're not there to watch Max's journey. You're not seeing how he grows as an individual. It's all about the scale, the spectacle, the aesthetics. It's a 2-hour car chase, effectively, that looks amazing at every single beat. So if he is an egocentric sort of actor that, like you say, wants his handheld and thinks that his performance is pivotal, the fact he has very little to do, I think, summarises that he's not that important in this.
Also, if you think of it being post-apocalyptic, the whole world's gone to shit. And it's our Earth because they talk about satellites and Heckler Cocker the guns, and there's ambulance doors in the Citadel where Tom Hardy almost falls out. If you look at the doors, there's ambulance signs because they're old ambulance doors. So it is our Earth. So society's collapsed and that whole community thing's over. So actions speak louder than words in an apocalyptic world, don't they? Hence why dialogue's very minimal, and when they do talk, it's almost like a broken English. It's an odd English, isn't it? Like the wives speaking quite odd tongues, very weird words. Is that an illusion or something? And the war boys are all very prophetic and religious, aren't they? It's a very odd dialogue. I don't need dialogue for this film. I think even Miller said that he wanted it to be something that you could watch anywhere in the world without subtitles and just get the film.
And you certainly could, I think. Yeah, I think if the world's gone to shit like it has in this film, we all use conversation as a buffer when we meet people. It's small talk.
Yeah.
You have to be polite. You have to be gracious. You have to do these certain social expectations to get on with others. If the world's gone to shit and everyone's like
Shoot first,
during a drought
ask later.
and thirsty, just trying their hardest to survive, you're not going to have a 20-minute conversation about what they've been up to at the weekend. There's no weekend. There's none of these societal constructs when the world's gone to shit.
No.
So knowing that Tom Hardy considers himself a proper thespian and method actor, I can summarise that he's probably shitty because he didn't have enough to do and he wanted more to do, I reckon anyway. Pure speculation, of course, but yeah, that's where I stand. What did you like about the film?
It epitomises why people should go to the cinema still. For me, it's the lore, the action, the undertaking are nothing short of incredible. George Miller executed his vision exceptionally well.
Yeah.
It's just huge.
Yeah.
To watch it, to come to life. And I grew up with older family members showing me the original Mad Max, Thunderdome, Road Warrior. Always loved it. Like, I enjoyed the whole lore and mythology behind this post-apocalyptic Australia. It's nice that it's not America. It's, it's essentially set in Australia. So to watch a film where it's kind of like what Cameron, I suppose, had with Avatar. He could never bring it to life 20 years ago.
No.
He actually had to wait for technology to get better.
Yeah.
And I think George Miller, when he did Mad Max 1, hardly anyone, the actor Mel Gibson, George Miller himself, and loads of people involved in that film had never done a film, never acted. It was done on a budget. He's an MD, he's a GP.
Yeah.
He even did surgery and medical work to pay for the first Mad Max because they had no money.
Yeah.
So to see that he come from that, doing this weird little cult indie budget movie to this huge fucking desert opera with cars. Yeah. It's an incredible journey to see that evolution.
I think his vision is even more impressive because you mentioned Avatar. Avatar's is what, 10 years old now?
Yeah.
You watch that film in another 10 years, the CGI will start to look dated. The beauty of Fury Road, because it's all practical effects, I don't think that'll ever look dated because they're not relying on technology that's going to improve in time. It's timeless in that fact. It looks incredible now.
It's tangible, isn't it?
Yeah, it will look incredible in 20 years' time because it's real. I mean, it's not real, obviously. It's all very coordinated and choreographed and stunts and stuff like that. But at its core, it's real people doing real things, and that's what makes it so incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of real effects, special effects, physical effects.
Yeah.
It's amazing when the minimal, if you can take CGI out and really make a movie, I think you will be paid back for that years later. No one looks at Ben-Hur. Even today, it could have aged with the acting or subject matter, but no one looks at it and says it looks shit.
Well, for its time, it's still impressive what they've
they didn't have
achieved.
CGI.
Exactly.
They used real people and stuff, and that's tangible, and you can touch it, and it's engrossing.
And I think the strength, like you say, it defined why people go to the cinema, because you could be just a really, films aren't your biggest pastime. But watching this, I think you could be the biggest film fan, or you could be someone that hardly ever watches film. The spectacle, how it looks, how it sounds and everything, I think everybody can take something away from it, which is testament to the film for me.
If I'm going to cinema, that's the ideal movie for me.
Yeah.
I can watch my Shawshanks at home and The Pianist and stuff, the really touching stuff. I don't need a cinema for it.
Yeah.
It can be a more personal experience, but any film you could think of for me for the last 20 years, that's the film I want to see at the cinema.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's crazy. It's the actual lore behind all the characters and this new world they live in where V8 is a god and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. The bigger the screen, the better, right?
Yeah, man.
What else did you like about it?
Charlize Theron as Furiosa is probably the greatest action hero of the last 20 years since Uma Thurman's Kill Bill.
Nice.
If you honestly think about it, action hero.
Yeah.
And what her character does in the film, how that she has strength, she's been through shit, she's lost an arm. It just reminded me I haven't had that excitement for an action hero for 20 years.
Yeah, if the person that you're rooting for on screen's compassionate as well as completely badass, you can't help but warm to that character.
That's peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Put together in a sandwich.
Delicious.
What
else did you like about it?
Immortan Joe.
Yeah.
Hugh Hayes. What's his name?
Hugh Keys-Byrne.
Sorry. Morton Joe, brilliantly sickening bad guy.
Yeah.
And the same actor played Toe Cutter in the very first Mad Max. So I think it's cool that he's almost like an anthology. He plays two different characters, but he's a very good actor, and I think he was huge in the Royal Shakespeare Company. Yeah. He was a very classics based actor, but I think both the characters that he pulled off in both films is excellent.
Yeah. I think he manages to be really menacing, and you don't see a lot of him physically. He's got a huge mask on. He's got this wild mane of hair, and he's got all this body armor and stuff. So you don't necessarily see much of the actor, but it's the menace he has in his eyes and the way he throws himself around like a silverback, like he's really aggressive. The way he moves, and
I love his vocal quality.
Yeah,
that's my property.
And arguably, he doesn't have an awful lot to do in the film. The film moves so fast, and you only see him in glimpses, in small little nuggets throughout the film. But every time you see him, he is a presence, and I really enjoyed him as well. In this.
I think he's a great bad guy, titular. Not because physically he's not a talented fighter either.
No.
Like, he's not a great shot with a gun. He's not physically beating anyone up. But what he does have is it's a cult. Yeah. He's got power of the mind over these half-lives.
And within the film, he holds all the resources, doesn't he? He's in charge of the water, and he decides when to turn the tap on, so to speak, to quench the thirst of the thousands of people under his guidance and rule.
That water looks so good.
Oh, the film does an excellent... It made me so thirsty.
Oh, because it's been so hot anyway in England.
Yeah.
Like, to the thought of water, just that lovely fresh water coming down from the deep of the earth, I was like, bathe me, daddy.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? My favourite thing about the film kind of ties in with what you said, and it's just balls to the wall chaos. 2 hours of unrelenting carnage that feels like a fever dream. A bonkers blockbuster that's breathless, bizarre and beautiful.
Oh,
throughout the whole film, it starts as it means to go on. It's high paced, fast acceleration, and it's just madness, and I love to see it.
You don't ever have long to wait for the next action sequence.
It's ruthless and relentless. It's just 2 hours of chase, like catch me, and I love it. Yeah.
Do you know what, one of the things I didn't mention, because I probably have so many likes, but it's the whole design and concept, from like the V8 Colt, the War Boys, War Rigs, Lancers, who are the guys that throw a bomb lancer onto a car, Imperators, Buzzards. It's like Aquacola. Like, it's just water, but it's called Aquacola. Kamikaze. So the War Boys are called Kamikaze instead of Kamikaze.
That's cool.
It's mad, man. Polecats.
Yeah.
They're them. That was real. I watched the behind the scenes and everything.
Yeah.
Them guys are high up on them poles with an engine as the weight ballast, and them going back and forward and landing on cars. They did it all.
That's incredible.
Whilst cars are moving.
I mean, the fact that you've got all the terminology now down. I've seen this film 4 times, and I'm still oblivious to the names of all the characters that you've just mentioned and that. But
Ace,
the thought,
Slits.
the thought that goes into naming all of them, and the character names I do remember are brilliant. Nux, Toast the Knowing, Immortan Joe, Rictus Erectus, Capable. Yeah. Like, the names crack me up.
Organic Mechanic.
Yeah, and
he's the doctor.
I think one of the strengths of the film as well is you can watch it many times, and even though it's a really simple story that looks amazing, you can pick these different things up on each time you watch it. So it's like a different journey every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. I think it's just a treat for the senses. Fury Road is an awesome combination of stunning cinematography that tickles the eyes and music that teases the ears. I find it amazing that a post-apocalyptic first fest could be so visually pleasing, as well as sounding like a mad metal concert. It all just combines and just works, doesn't it?
And it all come from his brain.
Yeah, I think without the original Mad Max, this could never have happened, because I think Fury Road is probably what he envisioned in 1979. So what's that, over 40 years ago?
Long ass time.
And now as technology and capabilities and everything is improved through the evolution of cinema, he's able to realise that vision. And then I've only saw the first Mad Max recently, and comparing the two, it's very rare that a reboot is better than its source material. But for me, it works.
Well, they said it's extremely rare for the fourth film in, say, a loose franchise is the first film to get an Oscar or get nominated. Yeah. The other 3 didn't get close to Oscars.
It was more of a cult. Following, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was proper budget, the first one.
Yeah,
you know, within minutes it is. But Mel Gibson went along to the interview with he went along to the audition for his friend. He was just there, like, driving him or something, And they
Really?
looked at him and asked him to come back and take the role.
That's amazing.
Just like Harrison Ford being a carpenter on Star Wars.
yeah,
Incredible.
I love to hear stories like that.
Yeah, you do.
The final thing I liked about it, it's basically the last point I said but reworded. It's just a cocktail of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The action, direction, the characters, the choreography, the stunts, and everything in between are beautifully mixed together and shaken up to provide an instant action classic.
Imagine being a part of it. Filming in Namibia for a year or however long it was.
I would be so gassed to just even be
Good choice.
like
Words.
painting props or doing or water boy walking around with bottles of water for people to quench their thirst, just to say, oh yeah, I was involved in Fury Road. Because like you said, this is what cinema's made to be, isn't it? A grand spectacle, a form of escapism, and just pure unadulterated entertainment.
And in my opinion, it is original, even though there is prior films to Fury Road. This, for how long it was since 1979, the colour, the spectacle, the whole undertaking, it is original. Like for a cinema goer of nowadays.
Yeah, there's nothing I'm thinking while watching this film and going, oh, it's just like this film. Or it's not. You watch. No. We go back to Marvel. You watch any Marvel film, and you can see the formula that each one takes, and you're like, oh, well, this is like this. Oh, the character's going to do this next. Oh, here comes the peril. Like, oh, now it's going to be a big fight.
Every origin story is the same.
Exactly. With this, there's beauty in its simplicity, but when it looks as astounding as it does, you can't help but be blown away by it. What didn't you like about the film, if there was anything?
Yeah, so if I dig deep for it,
I
did have a long think to myself last night.
Good.
Like, who could have played it instead of Tom Hardy?
Oh,
and it was hard for me to actually look into it.
Well, spoiler alert, later on, I do have a question about that.
Okay.
So maybe skirt around that.
I'll skirt around it.
Yeah.
I'll come out with something maybe this is the first time I saw it at cinema. I'm basing this one on because it stood out for me quite a lot. And maybe loving Gibbo as much as I do, I might have felt a little like, fuck you, Tom. But Tom Hardy's accent for me fluctuates. Throughout the film.
He starts off fairly obviously as an Aussie, right? And then sort of goes back to sounding English.
He should have only just been Aussie throughout the whole film, but sometimes, he has this posh, like, insanity sound.
Like Bane almost from Dark Knight Rises.
Well, yeah, and also like a really odd vocal quality. I don't know, it's just like, Max,
yeah.
My name is Max.
Yeah.
And it just fluctuates.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because he is insane and he thinks in his method, but to be honest, when you've only got 5 lines of dialogue, you need to be really consistent.
Well, it should be a constant, shouldn't it?
It should have stayed with the voiceover. So at the start, he got his voiceover, haven't you? And he should have been consistent with that. But I found he let his physical acting sort of affect his accent. And because he doesn't have a lot of lines of dialogue, when he does speak, for me, it just fluctuated a bit. And I was a bit like, it made me miss Gibbo. I missed that 2 days ago. I saw a rig that could hold that tanker. You want to get out of here? You talk to me. Yeah, and I missed that.
Yeah. I'd argue that Tom Hardy as Max Rockatansky.
Rockatansky.
Yeah, I'd argue that he could have gone the whole film without saying a word.
And it would have
been
been
then
better.
right at the end, when he reveals his name, he just said, my name's Max, and then left it at that. Because it is a physical performance. And say what you want about Tom Hardy, you've got to give him respect for how he throws himself into roles physically.
Yeah.
And in this film is a lot of him being thrown around, a lot of the stunts I'm assuming he's done himself, a lot of the physical aspects are impressive.
He had a stuntman, and that stuntman married the stunt woman of Charlize Theron.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
They met on set and they married.
What a lovely...
And Riley Keough married Nicholas Holt's stunt double.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So like 4 people fell in love on this film.
And considering what the film's about, that's incredible.
It's mad.
Oh.
It's cracker.
Amazing.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I enjoy that.
Just came to mind.
Is there anything else you didn't like about the film?
Tom Hardy was a method diva on set. From what I've read,
okay.
I think there's been a big expose on the filming of Fury Road and Chrome or something in the desert. Some guy wrote it. But a lot's come out. And there was an article in Vanity Fair or Vogue, I don't know which one it was, but there was mention of how, like, he literally would take hours to come out his dressing room, knowing full well that they were trying to shoot. There is a budget.
Yeah.
This costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for him to be late. Hence why Theron went for him. She'd literally just had a baby as well. So she's sitting in Namibia trying to do a film.
And her role's very physical as well.
Yeah.
And if you're someone at work, you're turning up on time, you're doing all the heavy lifting, and you've got someone that's late or being difficult, and you're in that heat trying to film something, it must have, no wonder.
He squared up to her.
No.
Yeah, he squared up to her. When she said, charge that guy $100,000 every hour he's late, he went, what the fuck did you say to me? And walked up to her all hunched and stuff. So they had to get another producer in to like ease down the tension. But I think obviously they settled their differences later. But I just think he's still not, he's not a De Niro, he's not a DiCaprio yet. He should not have the arrogance that he had on this film, hence why he felt the need to apologise to George Miller. I think he should have been so grateful to have landed this role. So grateful. I
know loads of people love Tom Hardy. I quite like Tom Hardy. I'm not a diehard fan like many others are that adore everything he does. I think in certain roles, like you mentioned earlier, Bronson, he's very good. His role in Peaky Blinders.
Bronson is still his favourite role.
He did a very good, small film called Locke where he played a Welsh guy in the whole film. He was just in a car. Yeah, he was brilliant in that. But then other roles, I don't rate him as Bane. That TV series he did to Taboo, I didn't rate him in that. His
accent was shite.
He almost goes above and beyond to try, and he's guilty of maybe overacting or trying to be the focus too much on his vocal side of the role, that it can be distracting. But when you hear stuff like this, it is a turn off, isn't it? And I've heard that he had quite a troubled past with drugs and addiction and all that sort of thing.
He was a model, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Started out as a model.
But I think the ego may have caught up with him, and he may be above his station now, and hopefully he can find some roles that sort of grounds him a bit, and he can focus on his talent rather than the ego. And I think that would be better for everyone involved.
I think when you no longer have to really work or audition for roles, I mean, I don't know if he did audition for this film or it was just offered to him after everyone else was essentially not used. But I don't know if when you're gifted too much too quickly as an actor, or let's say you've had your cult success, I guarantee you he was the loveliest man on earth doing Bronson, because this is his film. This is his shot at the mainstream, and I guarantee he was a different person then to what he was by the time he was shooting Fury Road. You know, I just feel like I haven't watched Legend, I haven't watched Locke, I haven't watched the one with Shia LaBeouf where they're gangster brothers in doing moonshining.
Lawless.
I haven't watched them, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just, I don't know. You know, you see him he's a pilot in Dunkirk, isn't he? And I just thought, why? He's got a mask on the whole bloody film.
I think in that aspect, he's there to put bum on seats, because people do love him. Women love him because he's a good-looking bloke, and blokes
I'd love him because he's a good-looking bloke.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a good-looking bloke. He has got charisma in the right role, but there are a few roles where I've seen him in and that doesn't necessarily work.
That's what I mean. He gets plugged into too much now because he's also, like you said, he's pulling in an audience regardless of the performance.
I think the problem with Hardy is he puts himself on a mantle like someone like Christian Bale, who's notoriously difficult to work with, but the end product with Bale is always good.
But he's had his shows.
Yeah, of course. But Tom Hardy tries to be both things. He tries to be a highly respected method actor. Then he tries to be loved by everyone by reading nursery rhymes at bedtime on CBeebies.
Yeah.
And he tries to be both things, whereas Bale is just the consummate professional, even with For Love and Thunder, where he was criminally underused. He was, just completely focused on the role.
With Bale, I'd get it if in, say, The Fighter or American Psycho, if he lost it on set during a really difficult performance. But to lose your rag filming Terminator Salvation, and that may have a little bit to do with my hate towards his huge weight gains and losses for films, because I'm just like, well, what does it matter? You're a prick.
Yeah, don't.
But I do love him.
Yeah,
I can't deny Bale's excellent at what he does.
And I think through time, Tom Hardy will reach that level possibly if he keeps that ego in check. And listen, he is only human. The more success you get, the more likely you are to become a bit of a diva, like you say. But hopefully he's got enough within himself to realise upon self-reflection that he needs to tone it down a bit.
Yeah. There wasn't enough dialogue to justify whatever method he thought he was doing in his trailer, whilst Charlize Theron was sitting in a huge rig in the Namibian desert for 3 hours.
After just having a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you didn't like about it? Or?
Just the fact that Tom Hardy didn't realise the vision of the finished product until it was too late.
Yeah.
Hence why he must have felt like an arse at the Cannes Film Festival, seeing that on screen and realising everything that George Miller was juggling.
Yeah.
George Miller hired actors to do their job. Some directors don't want to direct. So Charlize Theron would do a scene exactly the same each time because she's a consummate professional and doesn't want to surprise her counterpart with a completely different take. Tom Hardy would do it different every time, and that's shown in the film because obviously his eyes are all over the place, his voice. He's working on the madness because he's called Mad Max. But I found like this film did not need method. They just wanted you physically there, Tom.
Yeah.
One thing I will say,
go on.
He's too bulky, too muscular for this role. They live in a world where nourishment is minimal. He was a bit too bulky. You look at Gibbo in all three films; he's quite slight, and he's quite toned, but he's slight. But Hardy was chunk.
That's a good point. Yeah,
where's he getting? Like Bane.
Where's he getting that sustenance from? What's he eating?
Well, unless he's been down in the people eater camp. You know, the guy that's got the nose thing, and he's driving the car, and he runs over one of the old birds.
Yeah,
I'm being so vague in this film, but you get it. But he's known as a cannibal.
Oh.
But I thought he's the only fat guy in the film, and obviously the rich guys who live in the Citadel because they control water. But you've got to think to yourself, Tom Hardy should be slight, thin, toned.
Yeah.
He's quite chonky muscle, is what I would have said.
So in summary,
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy.
If I had to.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
But like I said to you last night, and I won't go into it too much because it affects your questions, but last night I started sitting there thinking, who could have done it?
Yeah.
Started trying to work on it.
Okay.
And anyway, by the time I got to the end of that thought process,
if you found the perfect answer.
No, I still think Hardy was probably the best for that time.
Okay.
I'll tell you why later.
Okay, yeah, we'll wait for the question.
Later.
Yeah. So elements I didn't like about the film, and like you, I did have to dig quite deep because on the surface level for a film that you're just watching to enjoy the pure chaos of it, if I really look deep, I found it repetitive. But this is nitpicking. But I have a blast every time I watch Fury Road. But when you look past the relentless action, it is 2 hours of people jumping on and jumping off of moving vehicles.
So didn't you find that there was something different even in the repetitiveness?
New
weapons.
Don't get me wrong, I still love it. But if I let the cynical part of me get involved, it is a very simple storyline that repeats itself continuously. And as I say, I'm digging for that. I'm actively looking for something I disliked. So I'm not sitting there watching this film going, oh God, there's just a chase. Oh, is he going to jump on that car? Oh, is he going to jump on? I'm really looking for the formula, for the structure of this podcast of things that I don't like. And all my 3 dislikes are really throwaway. They're nothing that really lessened the experience. Yeah. But that's top for me. Second one, again, nitpicking, is lack of context. The world building is brilliant, yet we're thrown into a really captivating environment that is huge in scale, but minimal in terms of like explanation. It's not important, and I do love the way that we as an audience are just thrown into the thick of things, but a little bit more insight into the apocalyptic surroundings and into Max himself may have made me care.
Play the game.
A little bit more about the lead and his plight.
If you get a chance, play the game. It's excellent. 2015, George Miller played a part in it. Yeah. And it's literally, they took all the knowledge he put into the film, he also put into the game. So it gives you loads. I mean, obviously not everyone's going to go play a game.
No.
But this game offers a lot in terms of filling in them gaps.
If you're a fan of the film,
definitely get the game.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've never played it.
Brilliant game.
And my final dislike, again, I can't emphasise enough that I'm really digging deep for these dislikes, and Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even surrounded by crazy, I couldn't help but think he was a little bit guilty of overacting.
Oh, I liked it.
His character was a bit jarring for me, and the romantic subplot with his character and one of the wives didn't feel necessary. He goes from like devout follower of Immortan Joe to like, oh, actually, I'm going to help with his downfall because he gets a sniff of...
Immortan Joe witnessed him fail, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he said
3
mediocre.
Times. Yeah,
doesn't he?
Mediocre.
He tasks. So for context, he tasked him to get back on the rig to kill Furiosa. He jumps on, gets caught up, and straight away Immortan Joe just mediocre.
I remember questioning that as well. Look, obviously Riley Keough's character finds him at the back of the war rig, and he's curled up, and obviously his god died in his mind, and he's died in front of his god. So I get why he's on the floor like a baby. But I think living in that world where some people don't live till 30 years old or something, and Riley Keough's lived with a chastity belt and has been getting pummeled by big old fatty Immortan Joe. I think just seeing
That's horrible.
seeing this broken little war boy, because you hear them in the cart saying, no, we don't, no unnecessary killing to Furiosa, because the war boys are half-lives. They've got lymphoma, they've got cancer.
Yeah, okay.
So I think when she hugs up to him, it's a change of scenery, and I think maybe life's so fast in the apocalypse that she feels okay to cuddle him and stuff.
Yeah,
it probably didn't need it, but they didn't kiss or anything. He kissed her on the cheek once and then ran off to the tree to chain it up.
Yeah. No, as I say though, like nothing majorly against Halt, and all those discrepancies that I had against the film were so minor that they're not even really worth saying. But for the sake of the podcast, I thought them up, and that's what you get.
That's cool.
Some questions?
Yes.
Fury Road proves that blockbusters don't have to be a cut-and-paste superhero formula to be successful. Are you surprised that there hasn't been more ballsy big-budget blockbusters, considering how well this one has done since its release in 2015?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you can't count your Mission Impossibles because, again...
Well, it's a franchise.
It's a huge franchise with a formula, and it tends to always be the same. The enemy's really strong at the start, then they learn its weakness and defeat it. In the end, the hero usually wills out. I love my District 9s, and
me too,
and like films like Oblivion and Elysium or whatever. These quite unique, futuristic. They're probably majority they're all apocalyptic in a sense.
Would you consider them blockbusters, or would you consider them sort of
no, they're not
quieter sci-fi films?
They're sci-fi, and they're not summer blockbusters. That's why in my memory, hence why I said I think it's the best action film of the last 20 years. Now you have to hear my words.
I hear them.
Best action film.
Yeah, not best film.
Not best film.
Yeah.
Not yes, best action film, because there is nothing out there to compare it to in the last 20 years. I can't think or find one.
Well, especially when blockbusters now are franchised. They're your Fast and Furious, they're your Jurassic Worlds, they're Marvel, they're DC. Mm-hmm. It's all part of a bigger picture. This is part of a franchise technically, but it stands alone in its single vision. It
stands alone. The only thing that came close was maybe Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow.
That was brilliant. Now that's a blockbuster.
It is a blockbuster,
yeah.
But obviously hugely held up with CGI and etc. It didn't have the same. It's not the same grafting undertaking of filming in the Namibian desert. 140 vehicles, 140 miles an hour. It's
reliant on CGI and stuff like that.
Excellent.
And I'd say it's more of an intelligent film, because for all of Mad Max Fury Road's strengths, it's very simple. Mm-hmm. And you can, I believe you could watch that film 20 minutes in and pick up what's going on. Mm-hmm. Like, it's quite simple.
I never would have guessed that they were going to go back to the Citadel though. Mm. Think of the first time you watched it.
Yeah.
Not the 4 times you've watched it.
Yeah.
You think you either believe in Furiosa's there's a green place.
Yeah.
And when they find out there isn't one, I thought it would end with them crossing the desert or something.
Well, I thought
just getting away from the threat. But to turn it around and go back, I thought was quite good.
I've got to think back now, but I believe the first time I saw it, I thought, okay, here's your guns at sunset, guns at dawn. I thought they were going to have a massive fight like you see in every superhero film. I thought the end film would be like a tear up between the people trying to escape and the people trying to capture them. Mm-hmm. But it was refreshing, the fact that in the film they turn around and head towards the danger. I mean, it's good because they head towards the danger after putting the threat in a deficit, because they've wiped out a load of the people that are pursuing them. So yeah, no, that works for me. Mm-hmm. Are you looking forward to the Furiosa spin-off that is scheduled for release in 2024? And do you worry that the lack of Theron in the lead will lessen the film?
Is it series or film?
Film.
I look forward to it, but for me, prequels are cursed because you know the outcome of the long game.
Yeah,
I find it difficult to enjoy prequels.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah. And if this was a continuation of what happened to Furiosa and everyone next, where the people that were in the Citadel remained loyal to Immortan Joe, if it was that conflict, I'd consider it a more exciting prospect.
I wouldn't even have gone with Furiosa. So I would have called Mad Max Fury Road Furiosa or Fury Road. I would have left the Mad Max out. it's in his world, so it's his lore, his world that he's built. But it shouldn't, and I think that it should be almost anthology based. So let's say Furiosa takes a lead role of building an actual place for humanity to exist at the Citadel. I think the next Mad Max film should have been a different character in this same Australian wasteland, different plot. You know, because the world's so rich. I mean, if you watch any behind the scenes, any of George Miller's like visions, I think they had something crazy like 3,500 storyboard panels for this film.
That's
of which 2,700 actually were used.
Yeah, it's crazy
per clip. Yeah, so it was all storyboarded before the film.
Yeah,
and he's got such a rich vision. Like even if you look in the cab of her car, she's got a gun clip hooked into the car for quick reload so she can bang her gun against it.
Yeah, that was cool.
Her foot pedal is a foot measuring device that you get in a Clark shoe shop.
Amazing that you
so she
spotted
can pop
that.
it. No, I didn't spot it. I watched it in behind the scenes.
Oh, right, okay.
And then you start to look at everything that he actually thought of, things that you don't even see. Like I think the cannibal, the human eater or person eater, he was the fat boy with the dirt chunky legs. He had hair on his steering wheel. And that was to show the audience that he was probably a cannibal, but you won't look at that.
No.
So George Miller thinks of all these. He's got such a rich,
they're like Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a backstory for the guitarist, the blind guitarist.
I'd watch that film in an instant.
Yeah,
because I thought he was gnarly as fuck.
They're doing a comic of him.
Oh, amazing.
Him and his mum ended up going into a mine because he was born blind through radiation and stuff, and that's where he learnt guitar because he couldn't see, so he could hear everything.
This is the character, not the actor.
Yeah, Doof. Doof's the guitarist.
Is his name Doof?
His name Doof.
In the film?
Yeah, and Doof comes from an Australian rave name. It's called doofing, and it's from 4/4 beat, just going. So he named a character Doof, guitar. That guy was found in a cave by Immortan Joe and his clan. They ripped off his mum's face and put it on his face. So what you're seeing in the film of Doof playing guitar, that's his mum's face on his face.
Your knowledge erects me.
No, I watched all of the deleted scenes and stuff, and I wanted to know because it's like getting excited for Platoon. If you watch the documentary Into the Inferno, all the actors sit and talk about how they were actually in a Filipino jungle doing all of that survival crap. It's so interesting when you realise it's not a blue screen at a bloody Pinewood or something. What was I saying? What was the question? Was there a question?
Yeah, there was.
Sorry.
Were you looking forward to the Furiosa spin-off?
No.
Okay. Do you know? Do you know who's in the casting?
No.
Anya Taylor-Joy is Furiosa.
I like her.
And I know, and I don't think you'll like this, but I know Chris Hemsworth's involved as well. I don't know who he's playing or what he's doing in the film, but he's another. Because
he's an Aussie, if they're even prospecting him to be Mad Max, I won't touch it.
I don't think they would.
They thought about it once before.
Because it's a prequel and it's based on Furiosa, that we're led to believe the first time they meet is in this.
Is he Immortan Joe?
I don't know. I only know that he's part of the project. I know that Anya Taylor-Joy has been casted as Furiosa. It was originally going to be Charlize Theron, but for whatever reason that didn't work out.
Hemsworth can do Thor like Orlando Bloom can do Legolas. Outside of them roles, to me, they're really shit. I mean, I see him in bloody selling some exercise regime on adverts on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
What, you're a movie star?
I know
or you
you're
fucking draw a circle in the air,
I know you're not a fan.
Aye, shite.
I'm just here to educate.
It's another Australian export.
I'm
bloody
sorry.
Sam Worthington. Two-dimensional cardboards.
My last question is the one that everyone's been waiting for. I know you aren't a big Tom Hardy fan. Considering this fact and excluding Mel Gibson, who would you have liked to star in the titular role of Max Rokitansky?
10 years ago.
Not 10 years ago.
10 years ago, Eric Bana.
Okay. Well, the film was made almost 10 years ago.
And 20 years ago, Eric Bana. And as per George Miller's hope before he died, Heath Ledger.
Oh, that would have been good.
Because he's an Australian.
Yeah.
And him with short hair and a bit of a gruff beard. And he had the better build. I think he would have been a much better partner on set to Furiosa, Charlize Theron. Or Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner?
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. He was considered.
Was he?
He was considered for a role. And if you think about it, he has that depth. Because you see him in... oh, God, it's gone blank. Hurt Locker.
Yeah,
you can see he's got depth in his acting, but not like he will bring me to tears. But about similar to Tom Hardy, I think he could do some crazy roles. I think he would have been I think he would have been level with Tom Hardy if he'd done it. But I think, yeah, if Heath Ledger hadn't have died, that would have been great because he is an Aussie. And I do have that thing, Mad Max is an Australian and he should have been.
And there's, like you said, there's a huge pool of Australian talent that they could have chosen from.
Gibbo, I think, and I've seen some photoshopped images of Gibbo being put into Tom Hardy's figure.
Older Gibbo. And I think if it was to finish off Mad Max and kill him, so then new stories could evolve, like Furiosis, etc., I think an old Gibbo could have done it. But then when you look at what physically Tom Hardy had to do in the film, he was even on a polecat. He gets thrown around. He's tied to the front of a car, and he's got to be quite strong. And I think maybe, it's a hard one. But hence, when I actually came back to it, I thought for the times. When you look at the fact that, say, Heath Ledger died, Eric Banner's too old, Michael Fassbender was too old. I think Eric Banner could have done a good job there.
Yeah.
I didn't think of Eric Banner. All I had in my head was Joel Edgerton. But all I could think of...
Too young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, he's got to be a similar age of Hardy.
Too young, too short.
They were in Warrior together.
I know.
Oh.
Oh, no, I'm not thinking... I'm thinking of the guy who did Elton John.
Oh,
I'm thinking of the guy from Kingsman and Elton John.
What's his name?
Yeah, so Joe Edgerton, from I know who you mean now. In Warrior, and he's in Kinky Boots. Yeah, and that awful fucking King Arthur with Clive Owen. Yes, sorry, I know who you mean now.
But I think after you saying Eric Banner, I'd have loved to have seen him in that.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So, what would you rate Mad Max Fury Road out of 10?
Oh, shut up! Yeah.
Oh, I'm
basing this purely on what it gives me in a cinema. And the fact that it's an action movie.
Okay,
I'm basing it...
No, but I didn't tell you... You can't say shut up when I didn't... I just asked the question, what rate it?
I'll apologise momentarily.
Okay, go on in.
10.
Oh, all right. Well, I wasn't expecting that.
That's why I said shut up, yeah?
Well, now I am shutting up.
Basing it on an action film, basing it on its cinematic prowess, basing it on the undertaking that George Miller did in the desert, and the fact that it was a rip-roaring ride, I'm basing it on the fact that it's an action film. It is a 10. You can
rate it 1. You can rate it 10. Whatever you want to rate it, that's you. That's up to you.
In its category, it's a 10. It's just a 10.
Okay.
For me, it's a 10.
That's brilliant. I've gone a little less. I've gone 8, which I still think is a very good score. And I think I've only given it less. And I don't even... 8's a fucking good score anyway.
8's great.
Yeah. But the little things that niggled at me is what drops it down, and they are little things. And I'm a bit of a film snob, so sometimes I like to be really invested in a complex plot and stuff like that. I love this film. I love the fact that it is such a spectacle in this genre. It's so original. It's groundbreaking. All of these amazing things. So yeah, that's why I'd rate it a bit less, but still a bloody good score. No, you shut up.
What?
That gives Mad Max Fury Road a total score of 18 out of 20, which is bloody brilliant. Even if you're not a big film person, go and check it out because you'll have a good time. And if you've seen it before and enjoyed it, it's definitely worth revisiting, especially now after hearing all the facts that Harry absorbed and has shared with everyone. Thank you for that.
It was marvellous.
Yes. Consider watching this one if you enjoyed 300, Baby Driver, and The Book of Eli. Should we play a game?
Si, senor.
The game in question is What the Plot, where the rules are simple and the results quite the opposite. Harry will conceive an original idea from his big and beautiful brain and give birth to a plot. It is then down to me to nurture this thought by providing a film title, genre, cast, and anything else I can think of to raise this brainchild into a fully functioning film concept. Over to you, Harry.
Schnackturk! World-class surgeon.
Oh.
Incredible surgeon. He allows his ego, as the greatest surgeon on earth, to start taking liberties with his work. And what he starts doing, kind of like a little Dexter thing. You know how Dexter collects blood and puts it in a little glassy thing, yeah? He doesn't do this. What he does is every surgery he does, let's say thoracic, he does chest cavity surgery, okay? So like heart, lungs, whatever. He puts little tiny, like a dog, microchips in all of the people he's worked on.
Oh my God.
All of them. So he can go home and look at these little beeps on a map and be like, that person's alive because of me. that person's alive because of me. So every single person, without their knowing, without their knowledge, he's putting little tracking devices inside all of them so he can watch where they are. This starts to become an addiction.
So like a control thing.
Like a control thing, but also like, look at my work.
So he considers them almost his property.
Well,
so he wants to know what they're doing. Which
they're like his babies. They would have died without me.
So it's a conflict of privacy.
Well, yeah, but it's also his ego. He thinks, look, because he's done this, because he has saved their life and he's this shit hot surgeon, it's gone to his head, but it's also a control thing, like you said, and he puts these little, like, you know, when cats and dogs get microchipped. So if they die, they can bring him in and find out who it belongs to, etc., etc. But these microchips obviously allow him to see where they are. This starts to become like an addiction. So he'll like leave the hospital after doing surgery and he'll drive to like a previous patient and look on a map where they are and he'll just watch them having coffee and tea. And eventually, one of the women that he did surgery on, he starts to get a much more unhealthy obsession with her because she's very beautiful. And he starts to follow her more. And obviously, I think a love affair begins between the two.
But she's unaware that...
No, she finds his computers and these beeps. And she's like, what is all of this? And he tries to explain it to her without sounding insane. And obviously it spirals, maybe becomes a murder chase thing.
Yeah.
But yes.
Maybe he starts watching her so much, gets besotted with her. Things start going south between the two of them. And then he keeps watching her and then finds out that she's flirting with the idea of cheating on him because he knows exactly where she is. And then that's how she finds out that he's tracking her, and then he maybe takes her the hostage and wants complete control. Yeah. That's interesting.
Love becomes like a horrible thriller, almost.
Okay. I really like that concept.
Yeah.
I'd have it as a dark thriller, gritty, about control, about someone whose ego gets in the way. They think they're better than they are because he's effectively a collector of people. So he thinks that he owns these people as property because he saved their lives and he can track all these people. It's basically real life Sims. Yeah. He's like watching where these people are going. He becomes involved, falls in love. So in summary, it's about a world-class surgeon who allows his ego to take liberties. He puts chips into patients to track them and their whereabouts, becomes addicted to this process. One of the women he chips, he falls in love with. Then it becomes,
or infatuated.
Yeah, then he becomes obsessed. She doesn't know the extent of his adoration, and they enter a relationship. Then as she starts seeing things that are red flags about how he's being controlling, asks for some space, and then she finds out that he always knows where she is, and it becomes really toxic.
How'd you know I was here?
Yeah. And then she finds out, and then he might trap her, and then it's a trying to escape thing. So as I say, I see this as a really dark thriller. The director that came to mind was Darren Aronofsky, who I think is brilliant at doing those films that make you think. And beneath the surface of all this, it is about power. It's about control. It's about using your position in power to be able to manipulate others, and obsession, all those dark areas of humanity. Yeah, Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan. So I think he'd be very suited for that. In the lead role, for someone to be so well established as a surgeon, to be considered world class, they have to be a bit older, right?
40.
Yeah, so I'm seeing that this, I don't know if it's a direct result of watching Mad Max Fury Road.
Don't say Tom Hardy, bro.
No, of course not. He's got to be a bit older. I'd see him as an Australian, just to be a bit different, because we've seen American sociopaths and dodgy surgeons, all that. I'd have Ben Mendelsohn as the lead, as the surgeon, because you know he can be...
He looks like... Yeah,
he looks like a menace. He's a very good actor, very good at what he does. It's all in the eyes. He can be very intimidating, but also quite charming. And I think you'd have to be a sociopath to be someone like this. You'd have to have that charming element to you.
It's great.
I think the woman that he becomes obsessed with has to be a bit younger, and Australian too. I'd go Margot Robbie. Excellent actor, beautiful woman. You could see why someone like Ben Mendelsohn, who's a bit older, becoming infatuated. You could see her character initially being attracted to Ben Mendelsohn because he saved her life. Really charming, intelligent dude, and then it all goes south. And I would call the film cut above the rest. I am a man of many talents. My meticulous skill sets save lives. I am not just a surgeon. I am a god. I decide who lives and who dies. The people I operate on become my property. I am an artist that lets their art live and breathe under the gaze of their creator.
Wherever you go, he will find you. Starring Ben Mendelsohn and Margot Robbie, and directed by Darren Aronofsky. A cut above the rest. Coming soon.